So thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk about how nonprofits can be helped with our friends at Sylogist and the MissionERP product. I won't try not to bore you with slides. We do have a few slides to go through, but the majority of it is going to be some actual demonstrations of the product itself. So quick intros. My name is Ty Johnson. I'm the Vice President of North America here at FormusPro. And joining me today from our partner at Sylogist is RK Richards. So RK, quick intro on yourself.
Hey guys, RK Richards. I'm a solution architect at Sylogist. I have an accounting background. I've implemented a few different types of financial software, and I previously worked at a nonprofit.
So he's lived this, which is one of the reasons why I think it's great to hear from him. I won't bore you with my background other than I've been helping customers with Microsoft technology my whole career. And that's a little nice segue, a little bit more about FormusPro. So pretty simple. Our mission is, empower, impact, and change. And so, I usually translate that or describe that as really focused on technology for good, if you will. Which, I've had a long career in the technology space. It's really cool to be able to see how to apply these same, technical solutions to organizations that have a pretty big impact on the customers and markets that they serve. So that's a little bit of what we do, a little more detail. We are proudly a Microsoft business partner, so we actually only do Microsoft technology. There's a number of different products that we focus on. I won't drill into that too much other than, the reason why that's, I think, important is, there's sort of nothing we can't do on the Microsoft stack. And so we're going to talk about, the MissionERP product today. But one of the things that we're really good at is taking that kind of a solution, expanding it, integrating it, customizing it to whatever your particular organization needs. The company itself has been around for about 12 years, almost 13 years. Founded in the UK, and we've now grown very rapidly and now expanded here in the US as well. As you can see, there's a number of nonprofits in there that we're very proud of the work that we do there. It's very much been a sweet spot. We love helping organizations like this with Microsoft technology. For those of you who haven't heard of Business Central, and I should preface this, RK, I'm talking about this earlier, should call it Organization Central or something, because it's not strictly focused on commercial customers. It serves the nonprofit market very well. And it's something we thought, if you're not familiar, a lot of people, you think of Microsoft, think of Windows, you think of things like, Word and Excel. All great products. Microsoft has some very deep core business systems as well. So in the ERP space, they have a couple products, and one we're focused on today is called Business Central. Again, it's been around a long time. It's about 40,000 plus organizations that are using it currently. One of the things we like about it is that it's highly configurable, makes it very easy to tweak and tune for what your organization needs. And there's some really nice, you get some really nice integrations if you're using other Microsoft products. So there's just some things that frankly just work better and easier. The interface looks familiar and comfortable, and it just makes your workflow a lot easier using these other things in the Microsoft stack. So we'll talk Business Central. That's what Sylogist MissionERP is built on. But from there, I'm going to let RK give a little bit more background on Sylogist and jump into the product.
Thank you very much, Todd. So Sylogist, we are a leading provider of innovative software solutions tailored to the nonprofit sector. We specialize in empowering nonprofits with technology that streamlines operation, enhances financial management, and supports mission-critical activities. Our solutions, as Todd indicated, they're all built on the Microsoft D365 platform, enabling us to leverage best-in-class technology and product development from Microsoft, and then extending those solutions to the nonprofit vertical. We have extended the solution to address specific needs of our nonprofit customers, and today I'm going to do a brief demonstration on how our fund accounting solution, powered by Business Central, can empower the good that you all are doing at your organization. So what problems does Sylogist Mission solve for nonprofits? And there are really four things that I like to point out here. Complex grant and award management. So Sylogist Mission offers comprehensive tools for tracking grant applications, funding sources, and compliance requirements. And then it automates reporting to donors and regulatory bodies, ensuring transparency and adherence to grant conditions. revenue recognition and cost recovery. So we can implement automated revenue recognition and automated cost recovery in line with grantor restrictions and billing terms. It facilitates the accurate allocation of indirect costs to programs and grants. And then both of these are month-end processes that are cumbersome and time-consuming for the grant-funded organizations that we interact with. And it's very common that they are processing these calculations on standalone spreadsheets. So with Sylogist Mission, we're going to pull these calculations into the ERP. We're going to look at the real-time actuals in the ledger, and then we're going to create the journal entries to recognize the activity. Investment and endowment allocations. So we can manage complex investment portfolios, we can track endowment funds, and we have features for tracking allocations, income, and appreciation. We can also provide detailed reporting on fund performance, aiding in the fiduciary responsibilities and donor communications. And then restricted fund management. So we handle all the nuances of restricted, temporarily restricted, with donor restrictions, without donor restrictions is the new terminology, to seamlessly report all of those and make sure that we are spending those funds in compliance with any of the restrictions that have been imposed upon us. And then along with that, doing the releases from restriction, a complex process that can be cumbersome. So we can use our batch allocation tool to automate the process of releasing funds from donor imposed restrictions when those conditions are met. Also a month-end process. The next slide, I just want to give you a sense of the types of products that we offer. So, all of these are non-profit specific. We have a CRM and donor management product called Sylogist Mission CRM. And I'm not going to demo any of that product today, but if your organization is interested in a Microsoft-based fundraising and donor management solution, our CRM product would be a great option for you, and we can integrate that directly with our ERP to accommodate the posting of those donations over to the accounting solution. Analytics and business intelligence. So as Todd was describing all of the Microsoft products earlier, Microsoft Power BI is Microsoft the Microsoft flagship product for analytics and business intelligence, and we can use that with Business Central Sylogist Mission. Our finance solution is Sylogist Mission ERP that we're here to talk about today, which includes award, grant, and program management, supply chain and material management, and then we also offer payroll and HR solutions as well, if you guys are interested in using those in an integrated fashion with the ERP. So those is kind of the suite of our products that we use, and some of the customers that we work with, just to give you a sense. Various types of nonprofits, ones that are heavily grant funded, ones that are donor funded, universities, alumni associations, religious organizations, community service organizations, all of those that you can see here on the screen. They're just a brief listing of some of the clients that we work with. So we live in the nonprofit space every day. We work with clients like you, and that's all we talk about. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so Sylogist Mission ERP, it's powered by Dynamics 365 Business Central. As Todd was indicating, over thousands and thousands of instances of this deployed across the world. It is a web-based solution. We can access it from any web-connected device. We can access it from our tablet, and we can install the Business Central app if we would like to access it that way. This is a landing page that is configured for a particular user profile. So if I'm I'm spending my time today in the accountant user profile, I have lots of access to various things, but we can configure this landing page based on other types of users. Maybe for an executive user, maybe for an AP user, maybe for a project manager or an award management, a grant user. So we can pare this down, we can restrict the access. It is a user permissions based solution. And just scrolling down here a little bit, first thing I'll point out is we have an approval queue here. So if you're somebody that's involved in the approving of transactions, you're going to have an approval queue on your landing page. If you're somebody that's involved in the month-end close, I've got a task list here that is replicating a month-end close, and you can see all of the tasks that are associated with that. You can assign any of these tasks to a specific user, or you can assign them to a specific user group. In this case, I've assigned them to user groups. So if I'm the controller or the CFO, at any given time, I can come in here and see where the month-end close is, see which tasks have been completed, which tasks are outstanding, and get a real-time view of that. Scrolling down a little bit further, I have a Power BI report embedded into this landing page here, but if I wanted to embed 4 Power BI reports into this landing page, I could. If I was an executive type of user, I would probably have 3 or 4 Power BI reports embedded into the landing page. I have a report inbox. So this, my revenue recognition report is being sent to me on a monthly basis. My award expenditures report is being sent to me on a monthly basis. So if you want to schedule reports and have them sent out, you can do that. After I've applied a role to a user, one of the benefits of Business Central is I can personalize a page. So on any given page, I can come in and I can hide stuff or I can show stuff. So I've just gone into personalization mode, and maybe I want to see this email status, so I'll show it. Or maybe I want to hide some of these actions up here. I can hide those. And I could also, move things around. If I want to drag these and move them and reorganize the structure of this page, I can do that as well. And so I can easily, whether I'm in a journal entry page or an invoicing page or just a landing page, I can personalize it. And that is a user-specific action that only applies to my user and does not impact anybody else that's using the solution. So we have permissions and roles that are applied to restrict access, and then we have personalization, which is for customizing the user experience. How is our general ledger structured? So I want to talk to you about the way in which we have extended Business Central. Out of the box, Business Central does not have a fund. It does not have a fund card, and I'm going to come back to that and talk to it a little bit more. But what we have done at Sylogist is we have extended Business Central to make it a fund accounting solution, and you'll see that you always have to code to a fund. You always have to code to a general ledger account. So you can't enter a transaction without coding it to a fund. And then we have functionality. If there is a cross-fund entry being made, we can configure the solution to automatically create the due to and due from entries between those funds without the accountant having to worry about that as well. In addition to the fund code, the way that my demo environment is structured is we have 8 other optional, we call them global dimensions. Global dimensions because they flow across every subledger that we have. And we've extended Business Central in that way as well to make these global dimensions. In this demo environment, I'm calling them cost center and program and staff and contract and subaward and restriction. But as part of the implementation, you would be able to call these dimensions whatever you would like, and you would work with the implementation team to define those. Once we have created a dimension, I want to show you how many dimensions that we can have. It's an unlimited amount. So if cost center is one of our dimensions, we can populate cost center with hundreds and thousands of cost centers if we needed to. And you'll notice that some of these cost centers are numeric, some of them are alphabetic, and some of them are alphanumeric. So you can create that code in any way that you'd like. And if I was the controller and somebody came to me and said, we're starting a new program or we're starting a new cost center, and maybe we want to create a new program for feeding the hungry. Well, I could call that cost center 9050, or I could call that cost center FH for feeding the hungry. Once I create that, because I'm a user that has that authority to create that dimension, my accounting staff can then start coding to it, and we can start reporting on it immediately. And that's how we create our dimensions as needed. Just to drive that point home, I'm going to quickly show you a very basic journal entry to show you how a dimensional solution works. In some cases, there are solutions where they're account strings. Business Central is not an account string, they're dimensions. So if in this very basic journal entry here, let's maybe if we were coding to bank fees, I'm doing my month-end bank fees entry. If I know the bank account number, I can type that in. If I don't, I could start typing in the description. And bank fees is account 8112. I have to pick a fund here because I'm a fund accounting solution. I'm going to choose my general fund here. And then I have other dimensions. So as I was talking about previously, these are optional dimensions. If I want to code this bank fees expense to a cost center, I can, but I don't have to. If I want to code it to a program, I can, but I don't have to. If I want to code it to a business unit, I can, but I don't have to. And so that is the way that our general ledger works. You have an account that is required, you have a fund that is required, and then you have optional dimensions that you can code to on any given transaction, whether that's an invoice or a basic journal entry that I'm showing you here. Okay, next I want to show you our fund card. So our fund card, what we start with when we want to start tracking restricted funds. So in the case of, let me find a fund card that has some good activity. This is a grant. So we created a new fund when we created this new grant, and we call it the Echo Humanitarian Aid Fund. And we have an associated grant record with it that I'll get into in a little bit. But at a base level, we create a fund number. This can be a system generated number, or it can be a free text field, whatever you want it to be. We can accommodate any nomenclature that you might use for your funds. We can then classify this, restricted or unrestricted, with donor restrictions, without donor restrictions. This is a user-defined field. We can create more types of fund classes if you would like to. Fund types. These are also user-defined. So general awards, global marine, field programs, charities, endowments, cultural, administrative, care funds. So these are just classifications that we can use for financial reporting. Restricted from and restricted to. If we want to make sure that posting to this fund only happens within a specific date range, we can restrict the fund and make sure that nobody's posted outside of our defined date ranges. Also on the fund card, I can add attachments if I want to add links, or if I want to add notes, or if I want to add any sort of attachment, I can. But the other thing the fund card does for us is it gives us our own trial balance. So I can look at this AVA 109 and I can tell you everything that's ever happened in the history of this fund. You can see that our original budget was $1 million. Our actual expenditures right now are $474,000. And if I click on that number, I can show you every transaction that has ever gone through this fund. These are all of them looking in front of me. I could export it to Excel. I could share it to Todd and Teams. I could even analyze it. So for those of you that are accountants on this call, and maybe you like pivot tables, Microsoft has brought pivot table functionality into the accounting ledger, and I've just gone into what's called analysis mode, and I can now analyze this grant based on a number of dimensions. Maybe I want to look at various account numbers, or maybe I want to look at programs or cost centers that this is being used on. I can do all of that here by filtering on any of these various dimensions, and I can create an analysis using pivot table functionality. Or I could just export it to Excel, use all of my Excel functionality, and analyze it that way. So that's how we are creating a trial balance, is because we are a fund accounting solution, and you can never post a transaction without that. So it's very, very easy for us to do retroactive financial reporting. And I just want to drive that point home a step further. Another great page in Business Central is the chart of accounts page. When I was on the customer side, working in a nonprofit, I used this page every day. I would use this page. People would come to you, they would ask a question. How much money do I have left in my fund? That's a common question that you get. I could filter the chart of accounts page on Fund 109, and now I'm showing you everything that's ever happened in the history of this fund. I can see that there have been $370,000 in awards. We've recorded $228,000 in salaries. There have been $451,000 in subawards. And I could tell you the net asset balance of this particular award. If I want to drill into any of these numbers, I can do it. The other thing that you'll notice about this chart of accounts page is it's showing my budget, it's showing any commitments, and it's showing any encumbrances when it tells me what my available budget funds are. So there's an available budget funds screen over here. And in our solution, Sylogist has extended Business Central for commitments and encumbrances. Commitments are approved requisitions. Encumbrances are approved purchase orders. So many of our nonprofit organizations, our NGOs, they are using commitments and encumbrances. And when they're wanting to understand what their available budget funds are, we include those commitments and we include those encumbrances when providing the available budget funds. If I want to, it doesn't have to just be a fund. Maybe I want to look at the endowment. Maybe I want to look at the, let's see, here's an endowment A, we'll call it. Endowment A, I've just filtered on that particular dimension, and I can now tell you everything that's ever happened in the history of this endowment. It has a $120,000 net asset balance. You can see that the corpus amount was received on January 1st. There have been a $4,000 spend. which is in line with the 4% spend rate. And then we have a couple of entries here for unrealized gains and losses at the end of the year. If I wanted to look at a program, maybe I have an assisted living or an independent living program that we manage. I could filter on that in this chart of accounts page, and I can tell you exactly what's happened. So on this assisted independent living program, we've got some monthly service fees that we charge. We've got some salaries we charge to it, some legal, some consulting, some professional services. It's very, very easy to slice and dice the general ledger with our dimensional structure. And that's what I'm showing you here, and that's what I want your takeaway to be. So that's our chart of accounts and our general ledger and how it's structured and how we can report on it. Next, I'd like to go into the award management ledger. Our award management ledger can start with the proposal, and then we can move into an award. So first, I'm going to show you a proposal. And in this case, maybe we started with proposal 109. On proposal 109, we've given it a proposal number. We've indicated the sponsoring funder on this particular proposal. So who are we going to bill for this if that's occurring? Start date and end date. What type of a award would this be? Is this a grant, a gift in kind, a contract, a cooperative agreement, a donor advised fund? Any of those particular things. Are we classing it further? Is this an education grant? Is this a health grant? Is it a marine grant? So user definable fields that you can classify as needed. And then we're down into the proposal expenditure lines. So we've added 4 expenditure types to this proposal in line with what our funder has prescribed. So in this particular proposal, our funder is going to allow for salaries and wages. They're going to allow for contractual subawards. They're going to allow other costs and indirect costs. We in the accounting staff define what indirect costs is. We define what other costs are. We define that by GL accounts. Maybe you can use a certain subset of GL accounts in other costs. Maybe you can use salaries and wages, but you can't use fringe benefits. The funder is not going to allow fringe benefits. So when we're creating these expenditure category codes, we have defined that so that the user who's doing this right here and submitting this proposal doesn't have to think about the general ledger accounting. They're just choosing an expenditure category code, whatever that might be, telephone, internet, salaries and wages, and then they're applying an amount to it. This could be a 5-year grant, a 1-year grant, a 15-year grant, whatever it might be is no problem. We'll just keep adding years over here, and you can see that the budget they've created associated with it. Scrolling down a little bit further on this proposal card, we have a funder's reference number and some other information that we'll probably care about once it becomes an award. And then we have some defaults. Do we want to default this proposal or this award to a specific cost center? Do we want to default it to a specific program? We can do that here to make our data entry a little bit quicker on the back end. The other important piece of this award card is, there's other things that we might be tracking. Maybe we want to create some milestones associated with this award. When is this award supposed to be awarded? Or when is this proposal possibly going to be awarded? Who are the contacts that I'm working with on this award? Do I want to attach files to this proposal that I can reference at a later date? You can see that we've got our grant budget, our grant cover letter, our grant proposal. These all have been attached. We have links and notes as well that have been attached. So I can always come back to this proposal and I can reference all of this information to help my reporting back to the funder. Ultimately, somewhere down the road, hopefully that we are going to receive an award and we are going to create an award from this proposal. So I can click through this process to push all of this information over to an award. And I'm going to show you the award card now. We did not have to start at a proposal. We could just start from the award phase and enter all that information that I just showed you right here on the award card. But if we started from a proposal, we are going to create an award. And when we create an award, we are going to create a fund. So that's how we link this award record to the fund record. And then we can ensure that it has its own trial balance and we can do all of the financial reporting that you would want to do, because all of this activity that we are tracking now, it's siloed in a fund, which gives us a trial balance. But now that we've created an award, we have additional functionality on this record that I want to touch on. First and foremost, we originally estimated or proposed a $1 million budget. they have only awarded us $800,000. So when I created the award, it asked me a question and says, how much were you awarded? In this case, we were awarded $800,000. And so now we can see where that $800,000 is compared to the original $1 million proposal. It's also, I've also created restrictions. So that is simply defined as how do we want to restrict the coding of this? When I'm doing the accounting, I don't want my staff to make silly mistakes, and I don't want them to record expenses to grants, to accounts, to dimensions that should not be allowed. So in the case of this particular award, we're restricting it to program 1320, which is the program for immunizations. If I wanted to restrict it to a range of programs, maybe I want it to be used on the immunization, the wellness check, and the echo care management program, I could choose to code this to 1300 to 1320 and just create a range of programs that this award can be used as. Over here on the right, you can see that I'm restricting this to a range of general ledger accounts, and they're all income statement accounts. So you can't code anything on this award to a balance sheet account. You can code it to the fund that we've talked about, and then I can code it to revenue accounts 4,000 to 5,000, and I can code it to expense accounts 7,000 to 9,000. One step further, I'm restricting the posting. I'm only allowing my accountants to code to this award between the dates of 1/5/21 and 1/5/22. I can change this stuff at any time. If I need to restrict this to a cost center or to a contract or to any of these other filters, I can. That's just how we restrict the general ledger accounting. Down a little bit further, I can see that this award came from proposal 109. I can see that the phase of this award is awarded. It could be closed out. It could be proposal. It could be the award stage. I have now added some terms and conditions to this award. So there's an audit required, there's an international travel approval, there's a key personnel approval. These are user definable fields that allow you the flexibility to customize each of these awards in line with your funder's requirements. Milestones, I've probably added some milestones to this award now that I want to track. What are the reporting milestones, the financial reporting, some fraud reporting? Are there program milestones, deliverables that I need to track? When is the closeout of this award? These are all milestones that I can track, and these are user definable so that you can align them with your funder. If there's any sort of matching on this award, I can create matching sources, whether that's a cash matching source or maybe it's a gift in kind matching source. We provide functionality for matching as well. You can see here that I've got my file attachments and I've got all of those things that we previously attached when this was a proposal. So I can still get to my grant budget, I can still get to my cover letter, my proposal, and any of the notes that I've added subsequently. So that's the award record, and I just wanted to go through that because now we're tracking the reference number, the CFDA number, the appropriation number, all of the things that you need to know for reporting reasons. That's all housed in this record. But the thing that we care about from an accounting perspective and how we are trying to automate some of these things are the rules. One of the things that was not available to us in the proposal stage are rules. But now that it's an award, I can apply rules to this award. I can apply revenue recognition rules. I can apply indirect cost recovery rules, and I can apply invoicing rules. So I'm going to touch on each of those, or touch on that briefly. The rules are structured the same, whether it's a revenue recognition rule or an indirect cost recovery rule. I'm going to show you how that rule is structured. So we can set up very sophisticated or very simple rules. Any sort of rule that you guys could create in Excel, we can create that rule inside of the solution as well. And we define that rule. We say, what are the source transactions of this rule? In this case, we're creating a rule that is revenue earned per incurred expenses. And we define what those expenses are. In this case, those expenses are accounts 7,000 through 9,000. I can apply a fund filter to that. So every expense that runs through Fund 109, or every expense that runs through the tutoring or the wellness program, I can filter it in that way to silo those expenses, capture those expenses, and then apply a rate to those expenses. That's what I'm doing in the second line down here. This is a reimbursable expense, and we're applying a 100% rate to it. It could be a 5% rate or a 10% or whatever it might be. We're applying a rate to it, and then we're sending that revenue recognition to a revenue account for awards. I can apply limits to it. Maybe my funder only allows us to reimburse, or maybe they only allow us to recognize costs up to a particular rate. Maybe they'll allow $50,000 in salaries, or maybe they'll allow $25,000 in fringe benefits. Whatever that limit might be, we can apply a limit here to make sure we don't recognize anything in excess of that. And then down here at the bottom, we're just simply indicating what the debit and the credit is. So, we're going to credit our revenue and we're going to debit our unearned expenses or our unearned revenue or something like that. This could be a 4-line debit and credit, a 6-line debit and a credit. It can be very, very sophisticated if we need something detailed. So we can apply rules like that to every single award. You could create a new rule for every time you get a new award. And that way, at the end of the month, you're not having to go to this Excel spreadsheet and calculate this stuff out. We're going to go to one of our month-end processes. Maybe that month-end process is indirect cost recovery, or in this case, I'm showing you revenue recognition generation. We've created the award, we've applied all the rules, we've done all the appropriate setup. Now it's the end of the month, and I can then run revenue recognition. And the way that works is I run this process, I indicate a posting date, I could filter it in a few ways, and let me just make this visible. And now it's showing me the entries that it's going to create for me. And you can see that I'm hitting through revenue recognition. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 awards that it's looking at. It's using rule number 11 on each of these awards. And the source amount that it identified was $20,000. It's applying the 100% rate. So it's going to recognize $20,950 for that award. All the way down, in total, this revenue recognition is going to recognize $257,000 in revenue across these 5 awards. And so if I like that, and if I want to send this to the general journal, I can send it to Excel if I can, but I'm going to push that revenue recognition to the general journal, and then I'm going to go post it. If I don't like something about it, I'll delete it. I could run it again, but that's how we would do our indirect cost recovery. That's how we would do our revenue recognition, and that's how we would do our invoicing for month end. And then just a couple of more things here. How do we report on that? There's various ways that I could report on that. We have an award expenditures report, which is sort of an out-of-the-box report, but I like to show it. Your funders probably want to see their reporting done in a way that aligns with how they want you to spend their funds. So if I were to scroll down to one of these that has some data, Award 109 and Award 1010, you can see that there are different expenditure categories applied to these. So on Award 109, our funder wants the reporting to be done rolled up into salaries and wages, rolled up into contractual subawards, other costs and indirect costs. But on Award 1010, they're calling it personnel and benefits, they're calling it subgrants, they're calling it travel. And so we are able to accommodate the grantor's reporting format by setting up the award record with their expenditure categories. And I can easily tell you the estimated amount, the actual amount, the available, and the percentage available. That's an out-of-the-box report that we can do very easily. Another way that we could report on it would just be to go to the actual record itself. So here I am on the award record, and I could look at the expenditure statistics. And you can, drill into these numbers. If I want to see where these salaries and wages come from, I could click into that number. It'll take me into the ledger, and I can see all those salaries and entries that are there. I could look also at the statistics page if I wanted to. Every award has statistics. I can see the estimated amount, the obligated amount, or the actual expenses. If I choose the actual expenses, again, it's just going to take me right into the ledger where I can drill into that information. I could create a pivot table. I could look at this information, or I could share it to team, share it to Excel. And then the last way that we could potentially look at it would be to go up into our Power BI. So I've just left the solution. I've gone to powerbi.com. I've created this report in Power BI. This is my Power BI landing page. And in Power BI, I have all the reports that I've subscribed to, that somebody has shared with me, or that I've created. And so we're using Power BI as a reporting repository. And now I'm showing you finance reports. These could be project-specific reports. Maybe I want to look at the youth engagement program, and maybe I'm a budget manager, or I'm a director of this program. So we could share this report with you in Power BI. You could look at it in this way, but it could also be, a net asset balance report that we want to look at in Power BI. Maybe you care about the net asset balance, and this is obviously a schedule in your financial statements, and this is something that your various program directors care about. How much money do I have left to spend? I can show you the net asset balance in Power BI. Maybe we want to look at donations in Power BI. If you're a heavily donor-funded organization and you're using some sort of mission CRM, maybe you're using Salesforce, maybe you're using Razor's Edge. These are all products that our customers use. We could be looking at donors, or we could be looking at volunteers, or we could be looking at case management in Power BI. Lastly, payroll. That's another solution that we might be used for our reporting. So if you're using Sylogist payroll solution, or if you're using UKG, or if you're using ADP, we can connect Power BI to any of these solutions just as easily as we can connect Power BI to our Business Central environment. So it's just a reporting tool that's a part of the platform that you might use to distribute reports to folks within your organization or not within your organization. Okay. So that was the award management stuff. A few other things I want to touch on the Microsoft platform before I pass it back over to Todd. So one of the things that you're seeing come out of Microsoft now is the use of Copilot. And I just want to give you a sense of how nonprofits could use Copilot, because it's an ever-growing solution that is being weaved within all of the Microsoft tools that we talk about. So within Business Central, now you're seeing the Copilot icon, and I can use natural language to query it. Maybe I want to query it for some accounting information. And I could come in here and I could say, list all posted purchase invoices for vendor number 10,000. And you're going to see that it's going to look through my accounting environment. It's going to look for vendor number 10,000. I could have used the vendor name just as easily as I used the vendor number. And if I, didn't know how to get there quickly, or if I wasn't sure, I could use natural language to find this information. And in just a second here, it's going to give me a response that has some invoices. And so it gave me the most recent 3 invoices from this particular vendor. I could click on any of those and it will open up the document. But it's also given me a link to all of the purchase invoices for this vendor. If I didn't like these 3 and I want to look at another vendor invoice, I can look there. So that's just querying it for accounting information. I could also query it for how to. Maybe I'm a new user and I don't know how to do something. What is the process to create a purchase order, receive it, and then post the invoice? I could also query it for that type of information. And in this case, it's going to go out, it's going to look at Microsoft Learn documentation, and it's going to give me very detailed instructions as to how to create a process. And so you can see here, to create a purchase order, receive it, and post it, it's given me those instructions. And then down here at the bottom, it's given me references. So if I want to go to the actual documentation on Microsoft, I could click right there, and it's going to take me right to Microsoft Learn, and I'm going to be able to create the purchase order. That's another use case. Another use case that I think it's real important to point out are bank recs. So Copilot is now being used in the bank reconciliations. And let me just remove some matches here. So when I was a customer on the customer side, that was a couple years ago, 3 years ago. If I was doing a bank rec, the right-hand side of my screen is the ledger that our accountants, all the entries they made. The left-hand side of the screen is the bank statement that we imported. So we will import the bank statement from whatever financial institution you're working with. And then previously we'd have to come over here and we would say, this line has this arrow, this line has that arrow, go ahead and match these. And we would go through the entire bank rec and we would match all of those transactions manually. And that would take, 5 minutes if it was a small bank account, or 55 minutes if it was a large bank account. With Copilot, we can reconcile with Copilot, and there's no more of that manual matching. So I'm going to reconcile this bank statement with Copilot. And what I want to point out here is that my accounting staff made 5 entries that was one big deposit in my bank account. So my bank account had a lump sum deposit of $565,000, but my accounting staff made an entry of $440,000, an entry of $11,000, and so on. Copilot is recognizing that. It's telling me that it's going to apply all of these entries to this one line in the bank statement, and I'm going to say keep it. And it has just reconciled my bank account for me. You can see that the difference here is 0. So Copilot functionality to automate your bank reconciliation. Very powerful, very newer feature that has been released. The last one I'm going to touch on, Todd, is just ad hoc reporting. So again, if I go into my chart of accounts page, I previously showed you the analysis mode where I could create a pivot table, but now they've even taken it a step further. I can create a new analysis using natural language. And I'm just going to use a very basic one here. And I'm going to say, analyze the GL account. Give me general ledger account balance with a column for sum of debits, a column for sum of credits, and a column for sum activity. So this is more audit focused. This is something our auditors would ask us for. Give us your trial balance with balance by general ledger account. And I've just used natural language to prompt Copilot, prompt Business Central to give me that information. And it's gone out. Again, this is a demo environment, so I don't have a ton of accounts that I'm using here. It's now showing me general ledger account balance with a column for sum of debits, a column for the sum of credits, and a column for the net activity. It's asking me down here if I want to tweak this in some way. Maybe I want to add a filter for program. Maybe I want to add a filter for a fund. I could do that. But it's using natural language to query the solution, and that is true across all of these solutions. I'm going to quickly come back to Power BI. You can see a Copilot icon here in Power BI. I can query stuff in Power BI. I could go to my Power Apps. So I haven't even talked about Power Apps. It's another tool that Todd has mentioned. I can use Copilot to natural language build an app. I could use it in Power Automate. So if I need to create some sort of flow, or if I need to create some sort of process to trigger an event, I can use Copilot within Power Automate. So whether I'm using my reporting tools, my workflow automation tools, my app creation tools, or whether I'm in the general ledger in the accounting environment, Copilot is what Microsoft is infusing across all of these solutions. And hopefully I've given you just a few flavors of how that can be used. So that's my nonprofit fund accounting award management demo. Thank you guys for your time, and please reach out if there's anything we can help you with.
Yeah, take a breather there, Art. Yeah, I'm glad we showed Copilot there. The Copilot is something I'm sure you've seen pop up elsewhere, on your desktop and search things like that. It's way beyond that. And so in this case, we're talking about Copilot that's deeply embedded in the solution, which is really compelling. It gives you that natural language interface. You don't have you could find out information very easily without necessarily having to go navigate through the application and quick insights, things like that. And the other thing is it's changing rapidly. This is this feature that Microsoft is innovating on at a very fast pace. And so, seemingly every week there's something new that it does, which is really compelling. So there's that piece, and then, yeah, okay. I think you did a really good job of you covered a lot of territory in that amount of time there. Hopefully things I'd call out, things that I think are have been appealing to our clients. The fact that you can track something from proposal all the way through to the award is really, really nice. And as we saw, some of those awards can be very complex, right? So you have all these different rules, restrictions tied to a given award. You want to follow your donors' wishes. You want to be able to give them transparency and reporting on that. And then once you start, as you grow and you're dealing with more and more donors, that gets really complicated, right? And so, we see organizations that are trying to do that kind of reporting after the fact. It's a lot of work. It's very challenging. It's very, very difficult. I don't envy them, doing that. And then, you can sort of quickly outgrow, the other tools that you typically would use, like Excel, or even an accounting package like QuickBooks. So the thing that we think is the most powerful about MissionERP is that it has that depth and it's tuned to specifically what nonprofits need. And so that's why we team to bring this to market, and we think it's a compelling solution. So with that, so RK, thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, that was like I said, covered a lot of territory in a condensed amount of time. Appreciate that. Thanks everyone for your time today. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we'd be happy to help.